Today we're going to be revisiting one of our workhorse computers. This is one of the Warp computers. This computer has been running 24/7 for a number of years, using an HDPlex 80-watt power supply. This is one of the power supplies that comes in two parts. There is the AC to DC converter and there is the ATX module. We're going to replace this power supply today with an HDPlex 250-watt all-in-one power supply. So the first thing we need to do is to remove the existing power supply from the unit. Now there is our AC to DC converter disconnected. I may be able to reuse this in a future project, as it is a 19-volt power supply producing 4.2 amps. And we can see we have two connectors here. One connector is our SATA power and the other is the ATX power to the motherboard. Let's see if we can extract this cable. So we'll leave that in place for the moment and we'll now have a look at the new power supply. A 250-watt gallium nitride all-in-one power supply from HDPlex. We have a plethora of cables for this one. We have some bolts. At the bottom of the unit, we have the base plate and the power supply itself. We can take this one out to have a look at it. So there is our power supply. So let's see how we can fit this one in to our existing frame. Let's get the existing power supply out of the way. And that leaves room for a new one. The power connector. So the power connector, as before, will fit in here. But we'll fit that in later. The first thing we need to look at is to see where our power supply is going to fit. Now we did one of these previously and we fitted the power supply in this position. So that would seem quite reasonable to take this same approach. There we have the power supply now bolted to its backplate. We should be able to slide this in. Now that's fine for that. Have we enough clearance at the bottom? That's the question you're asking. Yes, we should have. Like so. Just bolt this in place for the moment. Maybe small screw the way, just so we don't lose them, as we may need these for the future build. And that is our power supply securely in place. Perfect. Now what we need to do next is we need to look at the power cable. Our next task is to look at what we're connecting up here. Now we have the large 24 pin, which can quite happily connect in here, but before we do that, let's have a look at the remaining cables. Now there is a synchronization cable, which we're not going to be using because we're only using one power supply. We have a PCI connector. Now we're not putting a graphics card in this one, which will go there. So we don't need that cable. So all we need is the SATA cable. So that means we don't need this one either. And this is the power header to the motherboard, which we do not need for this particular motherboard. So we only need the SATA. And in this case, we may not need to put the SATA cable in, as we already have a SATA cable in place, which will do quite nicely. And that's our SATA cable in place using the existing cable. We need to create enough room in here so we can get our 24 pin in place. This might be a wee bit challenging. Let's push this out the back for a moment. There's a 24 pin. Right, that's our 24 pin in at this side. We want to keep this cable well pushed in, as it needs to fit into the rack. So the next task then is to fit this into here. Like so. And there we have a new power supply in place. Need to do a little bit of cable tidying just to make sure everything's held in place. But I think we are more or less there. The only thing remaining to do on the frame is to connect this to this part. So a short bit of maker beam should allow us to do that quite nicely. This remaining part here. However, this shows how easy it is to replace an older HDPlex power supply with one of the newer ones. This should give life to this computer for many years to come. So we now have to do some testing to ensure our power supply is working correctly. However, that's it for today. Thank you for watching.